Bullies call her too weak, until she takes down 3 at once. Maya Rodriguez had always been small for her age. At 17, she barely reached 5 feet 2 inches and weighed no more than 110 pounds soaking wet. Her delicate frame, combined with her naturally quiet demeanor and thick-rimmed glasses, made her an easy target at Westfield High School. She had transferred here 3 months ago when her father's military assignment brought their family to this small town in Colorado, and fitting in had proven more challenging than she had anticipated. The school itself was typical of mid-sized American high schools: red brick buildings connected by covered walkways, fluorescent-lit hallways lined with blue lockers, and the eternal smell of cafeteria pizza and floor wax. Maya navigated these corridors like a ghost, keeping her head down and her earbuds in, hoping to make it through each day without drawing attention to herself. What her classmates didn't know was that Maya had spent the last 8 years training in mixed martial arts under her father's guidance. Colonel Martinez Rodriguez had been a hand-to-hand combat instructor in the Marines before transitioning to intelligence work, and he had passed on his knowledge to his daughter from the age of 9. Maya was proficient in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai, and tactical combat techniques that most adults twice her size couldn't master. But she kept this secret locked away, following her father's strict instructions about using violence only as a last resort, and never for showing off. The trouble started on her second week at Westfield, in the crowded cafeteria during lunch period. Maya had been sitting alone at a corner table, quietly eating her homemade sandwich while reading a book on quantum physics, when 3 students approached her table. The leader was Brittany Walsh, a tall blonde with perfectly styled hair and the kind of confidence that came from never being told no. At 18, Brittany was the undisputed queen of Westfield High's social hierarchy, flanked by her 2 loyal followers, Jessica Martinez, a sharp-featured brunette with a cruel smile, and Ashley Cooper, a stocky redhead, who laughed too loudly. "At everything," Brittany said. "Look what we have here," Brittany announced, her voice carrying across the nearby tables. "The weird new girl who thinks she's too good to talk to anyone." She leaned over Maya's table, her perfectly manicured nails drumming against the plastic surface. "What's with the glasses, Four Eyes? And that ratty sweater? Did you get dressed?" "In the dark." Maya looked up from her book, her dark eyes meeting Brittany's blue ones for just a moment before looking away. "I'm just trying to eat my lunch," she said softly, her slight accent betraying her Puerto Rican heritage. "Oh, she speaks," Jessica chimed in, mimicking Maya's accent in an exaggerated mocking tone. "How exotic. Where exactly did you crawl out from anyway?" Ashley giggled and reached across the table to flick Maya's glasses off her face. They clattered to the floor, and Maya's vision immediately became blurry. She knelt down to retrieve them, her face burning with embarrassment as she felt the eyes of nearby students watching the spectacle. "Don't react," Maya told herself, remembering her father's words. "Violence is never the first option. There are always alternatives." She put her glasses back on and began packing up her lunch, but Brittany wasn't finished. "Running away already? That's typical. Probably what your whole family does, just runs away when things get tough." Maya's hands stilled on her lunch bag. Her father had taught her about honor and courage, about standing up for what was right while maintaining discipline and control. She felt something flicker inside her chest, a small flame of anger that she quickly extinguished. "I just want to be left alone," Maya said, standing up with her tray. "Too bad," Brittany replied, stepping into Maya's path. "This is our cafeteria, and we decide who gets to eat here in peace." Maya walked around them, her shoulders tense but her expression calm. Behind her, she could hear Ashley's obnoxious laughter, and Jessica making more comments about her clothes and appearance. Several other students had turned to watch, some recording with their phones, but none intervened. The teachers on lunch duty were engrossed in their own conversation at the far end of the cafeteria. This became the pattern over the following weeks. Maya would try to navigate her day quietly, and Brittany's group would find new ways to torment her. They would knock her books out of her hands in the hallways, causing her to scramble to collect scattered papers while other students stepped around her. In gym class, they would accidentally bump into her during activities, sending her stumbling. Jessica once poured chocolate milk on Maya's desk in chemistry class, ruining her lab. Notes: the worst incidents happened in the bathroom between 3rd and 4th period. Brittany and her friends would corner Maya there, knowing the teachers rarely patrolled that area. They would make her empty her backpack, rifling through her belongings while making comments about her weird books and her modest clothes. Maya endured it all in silence, her jaw clenched tight and her hands steady despite the rage building inside her. "Control," she would remind herself. discipline. There are always alternatives to violence. But the alternatives weren't working. Maya had tried talking to her guidance counselor, Mrs. Patterson, but the woman had simply advised her to try to fit in better and suggested she join some clubs to make friends. Maya had attempted to avoid the trio by changing her routes through school and eating lunch in the library, but they always seemed to find her. She considered telling her father, but he was in the middle of a critical assignment, and she didn't want to burden him with her problems. The breaking point came on a cold Tuesday morning in late October. Maya had arrived at school early to finish a calculus assignment in the library, but she found her usual quiet corner occupied by students working on a group project. She decided to try the student lounge near the gym, a small area with worn couches and vending machines that was usually empty in the morning. She had been working for about 20 minutes when she heard familiar voices approaching. Maya quickly gathered her papers, hoping to slip out before being noticed, but it was too late. "Well, well," Brittany's voice rang out. "Look who's hiding out in our spot." Maya stood up, her backpack in one hand and her calculus book in the other. "I was just leaving." "No, I don't think you were," Jessica said, moving to block the exit. "I think you were planning to squat here all morning like the little parasite you are." Ashley circled around behind Maya, completing the trap. "You know what your problem is, Rodriguez? You think you're better than everyone else, walking around here like you own the place." "I don't think that at all," Maya replied quietly. "I just want to be left alone." "Too bad," Brittany snapped. "We're tired of looking at your pathetic face every day. This whole innocent act you're putting on, it's not fooling anyone." Maya tried to step toward the exit, but Jessica shoved her backward. Maya stumbled, but maintained her balance, her backpack falling to the floor and spilling its contents across the worn carpet. "Oops," Jessica said with mock innocence. "How clumsy of me." As Maya knelt to gather her belongings, Ashley grabbed her calculus book and held it up triumphantly. "What's this? Advanced mathematics? God, you really are a freak, aren't you?" "Give it back, please," Maya said, standing up slowly. "Or what?" Brittany stepped closer, her face inches from Maya's. "What are you going to do about it, little mouse? Cry? Run to Daddy?" Ashley opened the calculus book and pretended to read. From it, in a mocking voice, "Oh no, I can't understand these big scary numbers. I'm just a weak little immigrant girl who can't fight back." Something inside Maya snapped. Not the violent rage her father had taught her to control, but something deeper. A realization that her patience and restraint weren't protecting her. They were enabling her tormentors. She thought about all the times she had walked away, all the humiliation she had endured, all the opportunities she had given these girls to be better people. There are always alternatives to violence. Her father's voice echoed in her mind. But sometimes when all alternatives have been exhausted, you have a responsibility to protect yourself. Maya looked at Ashley, who was now tearing pages from her calculus book with deliberate slowness. She looked at Jessica, who was filming the whole thing with her phone. She looked at Brittany, whose cruel smile had never wavered. "Give me my book back," Maya said, her voice steady and clear. Ashley tore out another page. "Make me." Maya felt something shift inside her, like a door opening after being locked for months. Her posture straightened, her shoulders squared, and her breathing became controlled and rhythmic. The change was subtle but unmistakable. The cowering victim was gone, replaced by someone else entirely. "I asked you nicely," Maya said, taking a step forward. Brittany laughed. "Oh, what? Now you're going to get tough? You weigh about as much as my math textbook, Rodriguez. What could you possibly—" Maya moved so quickly that Brittany didn't have time to finish her sentence. In one fluid motion, she stepped forward, grabbed Brittany's wrist and applied a basic joint lock that her father had taught her when she was 12. Brittany immediately dropped to one knee, her face contorting in pain and surprise. "What the—" Jessica started, but Maya was already moving toward Ashley. Ashley, still holding the calculus book, swung it at Maya's head like a club. Maya ducked under the swing, stepped inside Ashley's reach, and delivered a precise palm strike to the solar plexus. Ashley doubled over, gasping for air, the book falling from her hands. Jessica, phone still recording, took a step backward. "You're insane. I'm calling security." "Go ahead," Maya said calmly, helping Brittany to her feet with the same gentle efficiency her father used when demonstrating techniques. "Tell them how 3 people cornered one person and destroyed her property." Brittany rubbed her wrist, staring at Maya with a mixture of shock and newfound respect. Where did you learn to do that?" "My father taught me," Maya replied, picking up her calculus book and examining the torn pages. "He's been teaching me since I was 9. Ashley was still bent over, trying to catch her breath. "Your father? What is he, some kind of bodyguard?" "Marine colonel," Maya said simply. hand-to-hand combat instructor for 15 years. The three girls exchanged glances. The dynamics of their relationship suddenly and irrevocably changed. Jessica had stopped recording, her phone dangling forgotten in her hand. "Why didn't you ever fight back before?" Brittany asked, her voice smaller than Maya had ever heard it. Maya looked at her for a long moment. "Because I was hoping you would get bored and leave me alone. Because I thought maybe, if I didn't give you a reaction, you would realize that what you were doing was wrong." She picked up her backpack and began repacking her scattered belongings. "Because my father taught me that strength without restraint is just bullying." "But you fought back now," Ashley wheezed, finally straightening up. "No," Maya corrected. "I defended myself. There's a difference." She zipped up her backpack and slung it over her shoulder. "I gave you months to make a different choice. Today, you destroyed my property. That crossed a line." Jessica finally found her voice. "So what happens now? Are you going to beat us up every day?" Maya almost smiled. "I'm not a bully, Jessica. I never was. All I ever wanted was to be left alone." She walked past them toward the exit, pausing at the doorway. "But if you want to test whether I can defend myself again, you're welcome to try." The word spread through Westfield High like wildfire. By third period, everyone had heard some version of the story. Maya Rodriguez, the quiet transfer student who had been pushed around for months, had taken down 3 upperclassmen in the student lounge. The details grew more dramatic with each telling. Some versions had Maya performing flying kicks and throwing people across the room. Maya found herself at the center of attention for the first time since arriving at Westfield, but the attention was different now. Students who had previously ignored her or looked away when Brittany's group was tormenting her now nodded respectfully when she passed. Some even approached her with tentative smiles and offers to sit together at lunch. The 3 girls who had made her life miserable seemed to shrink in the aftermath. Brittany still maintained her position in the school's social hierarchy, but her confidence was shaken. She would catch Maya's eye in the hallway and look away quickly, her usual predatory smile replaced by uncertainty. Jessica and Ashley flanked her as always, but the dynamic between them had changed. They whispered more and laughed less. During lunch that day, Maya sat at her usual corner table, but she wasn't alone. Marcus Thompson, a tall black student from her physics class, had asked if he could join her. They talked about quantum mechanics and science fiction novels while eating, and Maya realized she was actually enjoying herself. "Can I ask you something?" Marcus said as they finished their meals. "Sure. Why didn't you ever fight back before today? I mean, everyone knew what those girls were doing to you." Maya considered the question carefully. "Because fighting should never be your first option. My father taught me that the strongest people are the ones who can control their strength." She glanced across the cafeteria, where Brittany sat with her usual group, picking at her salad and looking subdued. "But he also taught me that there comes a point where standing up for yourself isn't violence, it's necessity." "Do you think they'll leave you alone now?" "I think they'll leave everyone alone for a while," Maya replied. "Sometimes bullies just need to be reminded that their victims aren't as helpless as they assumed." After school, Maya found Brittany waiting by the student parking lot. She was alone, which was unusual. Jessica and Ashley typically followed her everywhere. "Can we talk?" Brittany asked, her voice uncertain. Maya nodded, curious. "I wanted to say I'm sorry," Brittany began, the words clearly difficult for her. "What we did to you was wrong, I know that, I've always known that." "Then why did you do it?" Brittany looked down at her feet. "Because it was easy. Because you were new and quiet and different. Because it made me feel powerful." She looked up, meeting Maya's eyes for the first time in months. "Because I was angry about things that had nothing to do with you, and taking it out on you was easier than dealing with my actual problems." Maya waited, sensing there was more. "My parents are getting divorced," Brittany continued. "My dad moved out last month. My mom cries every night. My grades are tanking, and I'm probably going to lose my college scholarship." She laughed bitterly. "I guess I figured if I could control someone, it would make me feel less powerless about everything else falling apart." "That doesn't excuse what you did," Maya said quietly. "No, it doesn't," Brittany agreed. "But I want you to know that I understand now. When you grabbed my wrist today, for about 2 seconds, I felt exactly how I've been making you feel for months. Helpless, humiliated, small." She paused. "I didn't like it." Maya studied Brittany's face, looking for signs of deception or manipulation, but all she saw was genuine remorse. "What you did to me wasn't okay," Maya said finally. "But the fact that you can recognize that and apologize, that's something. Does this mean we can start over?" Brittany asked hopefully. Maya shook her head. "No, we can't pretend the last 3 months didn't happen. but we can move forward. Differently. She adjusted her backpack strap. I won't bother you if you don't bother me. And maybe someday, if you prove that you've actually changed, we can try being civil to each other. Brittany nodded, accepting the terms. Fair enough. She turned to go, then looked back. For what it's worth, I think you're pretty badass. Maya almost smiled. Just don't spread that around. I prefer people thinking I'm harmless. Why? Because truly strong people don't need everyone to know how strong they are. Over the following weeks, Maya's life at Westfield High transformed completely. She joined the debate team and discovered she had a talent for public speaking. Her physics teacher, Mr. Henley, recommended her for the academic decathlon team. Students who had previously been bystanders to her bullying now sought her out for help with math and science homework. Brittany kept her word about leaving Maya alone and gradually began showing signs of genuine change. She stopped making cruel comments about other students, and Maya even saw her stand up for a freshman who was being picked on by some sophomores. Jessica and Ashley, perhaps taking their cue from their leader's transformation, also became less aggressive toward other students. The most significant change, however, was in Maya herself. She walked taller now, made eye contact when she spoke, and didn't automatically assume the worst in every interaction. She had learned that there was a middle ground between being a victim and being a bully, a place where she could be strong without being cruel, confident without being arrogant. 1 month after the confrontation in the student lounge, Maya was studying in the library when she overheard 2 freshman girls talking in hushed voices about some upperclassmen who had been bothering them. Maya looked up from her textbook and made a decision. "Excuse me," she said, approaching their table. "I couldn't help but overhear. Are some students giving you trouble?" The girls looked nervous, clearly not wanting to involve anyone else in their problems. "It's okay," Maya continued gently. "I'm not going to fight anyone or cause drama, but sometimes bullies back down when they realize their target isn't completely alone." She spent the next 10 minutes talking with the girls, sharing strategies for dealing with harassment that didn't involve violence. She taught them how to project confidence through body language, when to seek help from teachers, and how to document incidents in case they needed to involve school administration. "Why are you helping us?" one of the girls asked. Maya thought about her father's teachings, about the responsibility that came with strength, about the person she had become through adversity. "Because someone should have helped me when I needed it," she said simply. "And because being strong isn't about what you can do to other people, it's about what you choose to do for them." As Maya walked home that afternoon, she reflected on how much had changed since that morning in the student lounge. She had learned that respect couldn't be demanded or earned through fear. It had to be earned through character. She had discovered that true strength wasn't about the ability to hurt others, but about the wisdom to know when protection was necessary and when restraint was more powerful. Most importantly, she had learned that standing up for yourself didn't require becoming someone you weren't proud of. It simply required finding the courage to show others who you really were. Her phone buzzed with a text from her father, who was finally returning from his assignment the following week. "How's school going, Mia? Making friends?" Maya smiled as she typed her response. "Better than expected, Dad. I think I'm finally figuring things out." She put her phone away and continued walking, no longer the scared, isolated girl who had transferred to Westfield High 3 months ago. She was someone new, someone who had found the balance between strength and compassion, between standing up and standing out, between defending herself and defending others. The bullies had called her weak, had assumed she would never fight back. They had been wrong about her from the very beginning, but Maya had been wrong about something too. She had thought that avoiding conflict would make her strong, when really it had just made her a target. True strength, she now understood, came from knowing when to be gentle and when to be firm, when to walk away and when to stand your ground, and sometimes, just sometimes, it came from showing 3 bullies that they had picked on the wrong person.